About a year or so ago, Terry and I had an opportunity to meet another couple here at the church, and they wanted to get to know us. We wanted to get to know them. So we went to Brian and Rebecca Cofer's house for dinner, and we got to know them. I kind of teased Rebecca first service that when we got there, I looked around and Brian was showing all these little things he did in his house, and Rebecca had all the, I call her like a Paula Deen on steroids, but antique. And it's like all these little things that meant something around the house. And I was asking her, what is that? What is that? What is that? And she would explain, real quiet. And we got to know them better that night. The very next day, very next evening, their house burnt down. I know, it's like, that was so weird. So then we really got to meet them. We spent more time with them. And in doing so, she knowing that I'm about to hit Bartimaeus, she started telling me a story about herself and what she's learned and how she can relate to blind Bartimaeus. So I'm going to have her come up and share right now. And you are about to be really blessed. Welcome, Rebecca.
Good morning. I first really quick want to tell my husband, Brian, how much I appreciate. He was always, for me, that person in the crowd that said, he hears you. Get up. He's calling for you. So thank you for always being that for me. From Genesis to Revelation, there are so many stories that tell of people who believed God. Bartimaeus has long been my favorite character because of his relationship with a cloak, and more so because of how through trust he readily broke that relationship when the Lord said it was time. In biblical days, if you were blind, there was really no way to support yourself financially. Beggars were given cloaks, which gave them permission to beg, and they were defined as such by the cloak they wore. I became blind to truth as a young child. Following my parents' divorce, I had heard that my dad had been asked if he wanted to share custody of the kids with my mom. He had said no, that he didn't want them. Satan quickly jumped at the chance to weave a lie into the fibers of that statement and cast it as truth into my heart. Where Jesus would have said, "Don't be afraid, you belong to me, and I love you," what I heard and believed was, "You aren't worth wanting. You aren't good enough to have a daddy love you." The vision of who I had been created to be, of how precious I was to my Heavenly Father, became cloudy, just like the eyes of my friend Bartimaeus. Over time, as I experienced life without the presence and love of a father, as I witnessed fathers who were present and loving in the lives of my cousins and my friends, the roots of that lie were taking hold in my heart, and I began to feel sorry for myself. This is where my cloak became issued to me, this cloak that gave me permission to be needy, to feel insecure, to be dependent upon others, approval for my identity and my value, and worst of all, permission to not trust my Heavenly Father. The story of my friend Bartimaeus would have been remarkably different had he been disabled by blindness and self-pity. He might not have even called out to the Son of David to heal him. I love the way, though, that he jumped up when he heard the crowd encouraging him to cheer up, because Jesus was calling for him. I love the way he threw aside his cloak and went to Jesus. To the people he had been dependent upon, he was saying he would now depend upon the Lord. To his eyes, which had limited him, he was saying, "We're starting a whole new life." And best of all, to his healer, he was saying, "I trust you." For years, I have begged because of my blindness. Begged for sympathy, begged for attention, begged for healing. Help me receive your love, Lord. Your word says you love me, but I just can't grasp it. Help me believe people, Lord. They show me love, but I just can't accept it. I never feel good enough for love. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Heal my eyes, I would cry. I am willing, he would say, but your cloak is in the way. You must cast it off. Not my cloak. Couldn't I just tie it around my waist or put it in my purse? I did not want to separate from it. I had become more disabled by my cloak than I had been by blindness. Far deeper within me, the roots of the lie that I was not worth wanting had become woven tightly with the lie that if I threw off self-pity and Jesus did not actually love me and he would not actually heal me, I would be left with nothing. Self-pity had been a horrid friend, but I had known it so well and so long, I was afraid to let it go. And lies about who God was were not too difficult for me to believe while I was saturated with pain and focused on myself. Bartimaeus received the mercy he cried out for. The son of David, who had come to give sight to the blind, said to him, "Go, your faith has healed you." The time was right, and Bartimaeus' faith was enough. Jesus knew the timing that would be right for me. On the day he exposed what the cloak I wore had been fashioned from, how oppressively it had covered me, and how my true identity had been hijacked by a false one, he was already offering mercy to cover it. The cloak I had thought I could never be delivered from, the exchange I had thought I would never be able to make, the so-called comfort I had thought I would never be able to live without, actually felt effortless to place in his hands. All my life, I had needed to believe that I was worth wanting. More than that, I had needed to know that feeling sorry for myself was not an escape, but actually bondage. And even more than that, I needed to believe that Jesus really is who he says he is, that I do belong to him, and he loves me. So to the people that I have been dependent upon, I'm now saying that I'm dependent upon the Lord. To my eyes that had limited me, I'm saying we're starting a whole new life. And best of all, to my healer, I'm saying I trust you.
Yeah. First service, she says, "I've got one more thing." And I said, she's going to be a preacher. She has one more thing. Please do.
I just felt like the Lord showed me when I had read that story one time that we don't know how long Bartimaeus was blind, but it doesn't matter. You've never been blind too long, that once he heals you and gives you your sight, you forget how long you had been blind.